Okay, here I'm going to give some examples of arrays. We can see from here I've used 3 arrays so far. One for person's name, one for the surname, and one for their age. Whenever we're doing any array programs, best thing to do, and this is just while we're practicing, is to hard code some data into it. That means if the data is hard coded in, we don't have to keep typing in every time we run the program. So very quickly, I might put in some details like this. Okay, and so on. So there we go. That's the arrays all set up. That's probably the most time-consuming part of it, but less time-consuming than if every time you ran the program you had to enter that data. Okay, so just as a reminder of the different array functions that we could use, so I'm going to put here a menu. And we're just going to have menu option 1, output array, search for a person. So I'm just going to put 2 things in there, quite simply. And we're going to wait there. Okay, I'm going to need another variable. So I'm going to declare a variable for choice, and that's going to be an integer. So let's let the user enter a choice. Now we can go back to this later and we can add in any loops around there, any validation, always worth doing. But the main purpose of this program, I want to show you how the arrays work. So the first one, if choice equals 1, we can have a case statement as well. Either of those would work, but if the choice equals 1, for index equals 1 to 5, because that's the number of items in the array. And I could do a console write line, person name in position index, and a few spaces, and their surname, and a few more spaces, and their age. So let's put that in there like that. Age. Okay, so that should display the contents of that array. And notice I'm using 3 arrays here, but they're all grouped together. Oh, what have I done there? I didn't want that. Let's put that there. There we go. We can always spot text because it's red. So that's a nice indicator that we've done that correctly. Okay, let's run this program then. So there's my little menu. Output the array. There we are. Looks good. What I'm going to show you next is how we can actually format this. Notice I've put in a standard space, but that don't work very well when we've got names of different sizes. So I'm going to show you how we can make this formatted, and so we've got that in discrete columns. Okay, you can see what I've done here. I've actually popped in a new string. I've called it my format because this is going to help us format this data into columns. How this works, it's just a string variable, starts with the squiggly brackets, ends with squiggly brackets, and what we're saying, each of these is a tab space. So a tab space is on your keyboard. If you look to the left hand side, you've got a key called tab above caps lock. That allows you to, if I hit the tab now, it moves along a certain number of spaces. This is saying that we've got 3 tab spaces here, and we're giving 20 characters. The minus means it's left aligned. Well, that's got, so them ones are 20, that's 10 characters. How we can use this, I'm just going to comment this chunk of code out for a moment. And how we can use it, it's going to allow me to put the column headings in. But if I put a console.writeLine, String.format, and open bracket, it tells me there it wants a format. Well, I've stored that in my format. I can then put a comma, and it wants the first argument, basically the first thing to go in the first tab space. So I'm going to say first name. Do a comma, wants the next argument, so I'm going to say surname, comma, the next argument, I'm going to have age. So if I just run that without the loop, just to show you this format working, output array, first name, surname, age. We maybe don't need 20 spaces, so I'm going to take that down to maybe 16, leave that as 10. And let's now apply this to the for loop. So, string.format, open bracket, my format, comma, pname. I therefore no longer need that concatenation. Okay, let's put that in the correct place. So we'll try this now. We'll run this code. I'll choose to output the array, and there, formatted neatly, is all of our data. So that is using the myFormat method. Okay, now we've got that method in place, let's have the search program working. Else if choice equals 2, then I'm going to have a new variable, dim search name as a string, console writeLine, please enter a name to search for. It's going to search name equals console.readLine, and we'll have that same loop again. For index equals 1 to 5. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a boolean variable in there. I'm going to call that found, and at the start of this option, I'll set found to false because we have yet to find it. If search name equals the person's name in position index, then found equals true. And let's take that, copy and paste, reuse wherever possible. Copy and paste that. Okay. So we've got our next index there, and we can have an if statement afterwards. If found still equals false, then item not in list, something like that. Okay, so we've got Bob, Fred, Mary, Vera and Betty. So let's run this program, and we're going to search for Betty. Now that's no good, I've put that inside a loop. Look how many times that's displayed that. But Betty's details are displayed there. So looking at this, I know I need to take that line out and pop it outside there. I don't know what I was thinking. Let's try that again. Search for a name. I'm going to search for Fred. There's Fred's details. Okay, so that is an introduction to using the formatting command. Hopefully you agree, that is really, really useful.